Hey y'all, it's Katie. Welcome back to From My Vanity and welcome to another monthly makeup review, and this time for September. September was slightly insane for me and my family. If you guys are following me on Instagram, you know the whole spiel that happened, and I mentioned it in my giveaway video. I put it in the description box, and I did want to say that I was so touched and just really overwhelmed with thankfulness for all the people who kept reaching out to me on Instagram, on Snapchat, on my YouTube, saying like, hey, I hope Gideon's doing better. How is he doing today? It really meant a lot to me and really helped me just kind of get through that hard phase in September, and just knowing that you guys were praying for us and praying for Gideon, it meant so much. He is doing better. He is okay. The swelling has gone down. If you aren't aware, he fell and got a fracture on his skull, had a huge swelling going on that lasted for a little over a week. So that is now gone, and we're just trying to keep him from falling and injuring himself again. But anyway, yeah, he is doing well, and I'm just very thankful that he is okay. Let's just jump right into this monthly makeup review for September. All right, so first up, per usual, we're gonna start off with the fails, or per usual, I don't know if I usually do that, but I feel like I usually do. So we're gonna start off with the fails for this month, and the first thing I wanna talk about is the Burt's Bees Goodness Glow Liquid Makeup. This just doesn't work for my oily skin. I feel like it's a nice foundation. I like it for a very natural look to it. It has a very, what would I call that? I remember putting my finger on it at one point. It smells like spices, kind of herbal, natural scent to it. It's not bad, it's just very strong when you go to use it. If Burt's Bees ever came out with a mattifying liquid foundation like this, I would try it in a heartbeat, because I like the idea behind this being so natural, and it's really, I just feel like that's a lot better to wear day in and day out. Especially with having a child who is constantly, you know, licking me, grabbing at my face, sucking his fingers. Like, I feel like he probably eats a lot of my makeup, so having something like this is nice, and I would prefer to like wear something like this kind of on the day in, day out when I'm not filming or testing out a new product, but it just doesn't sit and hold up to on my face with my oily skin. I tried it with super mattifying primers, and it still feels incredibly thick. It feels like it doesn't, I don't have it on today, but I'm just trying to remember. It feels like it doesn't set on my face, especially around my jaw area. It felt wet and sticky, like it wasn't set, and I didn't like that feeling. And also, because of that, I feel like if I ever touched my face throughout the day, it was constantly coming off. I liked how well it blended into my skin. It was very natural looking, nothing, no, you know, crazy coverage or anything. It was very natural. You still saw, you know, your skin through it. You still saw blemishes and stuff like that. But it was a very natural foundation that I did like. It looked very skin-like on my face, but it just didn't hold up. So this just was a fail for me because I couldn't get it to stay on my face. Next up, we're going to talk about the Profusion Sculpt and Glow Color Contour and Highlight Palette, the Moonstone edition. I debated whether I should put this in the fail or the okay. I guess quality-wise, I would say this is okay. I wasn't the biggest fan of these three, mostly because either they are too deep of a tone for me, or they had very obvious glitter to them, which isn't my favorite, but more so because they just wasn't the right tone for my skin, so I felt like I would never use the middle row. And then the top row, I think this was my favorite shade. It was a very blinding, very obvious highlight. I have it on today, but this shade really didn't show up too much. And then this one has a very like pink type of like an iridescent glow, which isn't like my preference for every day. So I just found that when I was reaching for highlighters in this palette, I preferred this one, and that was it. And that just doesn't seem worth it to me when you have 6 highlighters to only really care for one. And then with this trio down here, this I didn't like how it was too heavy and thick for my under eyes, like setting my under eyes. And with it being such a small pan, it's just too much work to try to use this to set your face. And then this, I like the tone of it, but it's just too light for my face. So I just felt like this was just no point in using it on my face. So with this huge palette, the shades that I actually enjoyed reaching for in this palette was this shade and this shade. So with that in mind, that's why I put this as a fail, just because it's such a large palette and there's just not enough of the pans for me to prefer and recommend that can make me put it even in the okay category. The formula wasn't terrible. They weren't the most blinding highlighters, which, hang on one second. The sun is starting to come out. But if you're wanting a very blinding highlight and you want to get from Profusion and, you know, get something affordable, go for this palette. I feel like, once again, I am not someone who uses this because it's too dark for me. I'm not someone who likes a blush topper, but I use these 3 shades and I thought all 3 of them were gorgeous. I love the formula and it's a lot more compact. It's a lot more affordable than the large palette. So that would be my recommendation, and that's kind of why I put this in my fail category. Okay, so moving along, this is CoverGirl's Lash Blast Amplifying Primer, and I feel like at this point, I'm not really calling this a fail, but it's not really okay. This month is really weird because I have a lot of products that I feel like are falling between the fail and the okay, and then I have a lot of products that are falling between the okay and the favorites. It's an odd month. There's a lot of products I don't have a definite feeling like that I can put them in a category, so you're gonna hear that a lot. But anyway, the CoverGirl Lash Blast Amplifying Primer, it works. It really does give you more like oomph and more volume to your mascara, but it does the same job as if I use 2 different mascaras. Now, if you're someone who uses only one mascara, I can see why you would get this primer and say like, oh my goodness, it really does amazing things. But I'm someone who every single day of my life, pretty much, unless I'm in a hurry, I use 2 mascaras because I use one. I like to use one for lengthening and really combing through and separating my lashes, and then I like to use another to put on the volume and really give it the definition and thickness that I want. So I'm always someone who uses 2 mascaras. So today I actually went and I was like, yes, this works, but I feel like it doesn't do anything different than just using 2 different types of mascaras. So on this side, I did the lash primer, and then I put on the Essence Volume Stylist because this is really good for like plumping it up and giving a lot of definition. So I did this and then this on this side, and then on this side I did the Benefit Roller Lash first and then this on top. And in my book, they look pretty much identical. I don't see the point of going through the effort of putting on a white mascara on your lashes that you then have to spend a lot of time to make sure you cover, because white looks really weird on your lashes, when you can just take 2 different types of black mascaras and it's just a lot easier. So that's why this was just... Alright, moving on to the okay products. So first up I want to talk about the Pure Pro Portables, and this is Sculpt and Glow and Sculpt and Glow palettes in the Pro Portables. Oh my gosh. Sorry, I'm slow sometimes. Anyway, this is 3 little highlighters, and then here are, I think, 3 bronzers, contours. So this is in the okay category because while I love this highlighter palette, these 2 shades specifically are really pretty. The middle shade isn't my favorite because it has more glitter in it, which isn't my preference, but if you're someone who doesn't mind glitter, all 3 of them are gorgeous and it's really affordable. I think I picked this up, both of these together, when they were like $3. So I really like the highlighter palette. The contour though is just one that I'm just kind of like meh about. I really don't like. The only shade that I really was using is this middle shade to bronze, because this is just too light for my skin to do bronze or contour or really anything. And then this has shimmer in it, which isn't my preference. Add to that, it's very hard to get a contour or especially a bronzing brush in these tiny little pans because they're so small. So in this little duo, I only really prefer and would reach for the Glow palette. But with that said, I still do recommend it because even if it's like $5, like $5 for this I feel like is a good price, and it gives you such a blinding highlight. I really, really do like this. So that is why it's in my okay category, because I really don't like the Sculpt palette, but I really love the Glow palette. So, alright, next up I have the Smashbox Cover Shot Pinks and Palms eyeshadow palette. Now the Cover Shot palettes from Smashbox, I feel like they get a lot of mixed, if not negative, reviews, and I honestly, for the most part, most of the Cover Shot palettes that I've tried, I like. This is somewhat of an exception, mainly because, and maybe it's because they tried to go a very pastel route, and I just don't think their pastel formula is that good. This shade right here, I think it's called Froyo. It is extremely pretty, but you have to build it up so much, and when you try to use it in your crease to, you know, blend something in, it takes so long and so many times of dipping in there to actually get it to show up as this pastel color. If you try to pack it on your lid, you get a lot more success. I did a look one day with like the pink in the crease and then this mint color on my lid, and it looked really pretty. I had to use the base underneath it, but it shows up a lot easier when you just pack it on as opposed to blending it in. The formula is okay. It's not my favorite, but I'm not someone who has a lot of experience with pastel colors, so maybe that's just how all pastel colors are, because I can see that being a really tricky thing to formulate. If you like a pastel look, if you like all the colors in here, I think you'll get a lot of pretty looks. All the shimmers are really pretty. A couple of them had glitter in them, so I had to use a sticky base or like a glitter primer. But with those kind of cons and cautions out of the way, overall it is a nice palette. I would say if you can get on sale, it would definitely be worth it. And speaking of pastel, let's talk about the Violet Voss Flamingo palette. This is my first palette from Violet Voss I've ever tried. I do think their packaging is really nice and sturdy. These are all the shades, so once again, very pastelish. I thought the looks I got were really pretty. I loved the orange and yellow, like these three colors. I think one day I did a look, I think it was all those three, maybe this one included. But overall, I thought this was a really nice palette. My gripe is that the deeper shades don't like to blend out, and most especially this beach ball shade right here. Oh my goodness, I tried to put that on my lid and I like packed it onto the outer corner one day and then tried to blend, and it caught in the oddest places and it wouldn't blend out in the oddest places. I had to wash my face and start over, which doesn't happen often. I feel like even if a palette or shadow is giving me a hard time, I just make it work and move on with my life. And the black also isn't the easiest to work with. It kind of was doing the same thing as this does. So they're darker shades. I don't really like the formula, but with that said, the light shades are really nice. One thing I do want to say is that a lot of these shimmers don't look like they do in the pan on your eyes, which is the oddest thing ever. I remember taking this Surf shade right here, and I don't know about you, I think it's showing up on camera. It looks like a blue-gray, but using it on my eyes and actually blending it in, let me see if it'll show you. Yeah, like even here, it doesn't really, but I swear it looked here, like there. It looks a lot more gold on your eyes, and that was so weird. And I can't remember how many shadows did that. Maybe Donut as well, Flip Flop. I know there was a couple of them that when I used it, like I was looking at this palette and going, I want to create this look. And then when I put it on my eyes, I was like, okay, that's a different color than what I was expecting. So that was the weirdest thing. Like they could promote this palette as like a transformer palette for these shimmers, and that would be pretty accurate, because I thought that was the oddest thing about how many of their shimmers looked one way in the pan, but when you put them on your eyes, they turned colors. It was so odd. I wasn't super mad at it though, because it was kind of neat. But overall, this is just an okay palette, mainly because I'm really disappointed in their deeper shades, and am I a broken record at this point? I like to smoke out my looks, and so not having a lot of good deep shades that I can smoke out my looks left me a little frustrated. But with that said, it's almost more on the favorite side because I really did enjoy all the looks. Like this is another palette, here we go. It's okay, but it's a little more than okay, but I wouldn't call it a favorite. So I don't know where that lands, this palette, but overall, it's a nice palette. It didn't blow me away with the formulation of the mattes, I would say specifically, especially the dark shades disappointed me, but the shimmers are nice. They create really pretty looks. I love the color. I love the uniqueness of this palette to my collection, so there's my review. All right, let's talk about another palette that I'm gonna put this in a okay. It's verging on being a favorite, but only because of the colors, not so much because of the formula, and it is the Jaclyn Hill and Morphe Armed and Gorgeous palette. I love the shade selection in here, but if another brand that I like more, like Lorac or Anastasia or somebody, came out with the same exact colors, I would hands down throw this away and buy their palette, because the formula of this palette it's just a little frustrating. I have it on my eyes today, and it creates some really pretty looks. The green, a lot of people hate on the green. The green works really nice if you want to use it to blend in your crease. It's very disappointing if you try to use it to pack on anywhere. When I put it all over like a matte, I wanted to do a matte green smoky eye. It didn't want to really stick in the center of my lid, but it stuck really hard to the outer corner. So I had this really weird line going in my crease. It wasn't cute. I was really disappointed. And on top of that, because I was sitting there trying to pack on more color under the center of my lid, I had a ton of fallout on my face throughout the day. So that's my gripe with that shadow. But overall, I would say this reminds me of the Bad Habit formula with the mattes and even the shimmers. The shimmers also are that type where I have to be very careful when I'm going in and not picking up too much, because if I pick too much up, it will really accentuate the lines in my eyes, and I don't like that. But with that said, they are blinding. This, I think, is the most blinding white eyeshadow I have ever, oh wait, I get so dirty. I have ever tried. Like, that looks so white, it's so reflected. I use it in my inner corner, and if I were to ever throw this palette away, I feel like I would depot it and keep this just for an inner corner highlight, because it gives a blinding inner corner highlight. Oh my goodness. These two have some glitter in it that I have to use a glitter glue underneath. Little annoying, not a deal breaker. But the mattes just remind me of bad habit because if you try to use too many of them, they don't like to blend well together and they just kind of poof away. So like with this look, I used a yellow, then an orange, but this brown, when I tried to really pack it on my outer corner, it wasn't really wanting to blend into the orange very well. It left a line. And when I tried to go back and forth with the two colors to get it to blend, it was super finicky. It didn't really want to. I think it ended up looking okay. For me, it depended on the look I was going for if I liked it that day. And the week I tried this out exclusively, I was on a vacation, a trip with my family, so I was going for the basic looks, and it worked beautifully for that. I wasn't getting super up close in my mirror to like make sure everything was blended out. I wasn't hanging around people who are makeup experts, so they didn't point out any kind of like, oh Kitty, your eyeshadow looks really unblended and splotchy. So it was fine. It was great. So if you were just, I feel weird saying just an ordinary human being, but you know, if you're not on YouTube, if you're not creating looks for people to sit there and critique you on, I feel like you'll really enjoy this palette and get a lot of pretty looks out of it. And also if you're someone who doesn't like to get too creative and like creating those ombres, because I just get very frustrated when I do that. I hope that makes sense. I hope that's a good kind of review. I feel like I mentioned this a lot this past month. I did eye swatches, which I can leave all this link down below, but I did eye swatches on it. I mentioned it in my palettes that were made for swatches video, and I feel like, oh, I mentioned it in my Ulta made me buy it video. So I'll have all those linked down below because I do talk a little bit more in each of the videos about it. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the oh so controversial Morphe and Jaclyn Hill Vault Collection Armed and Gorgeous. That's a mouthful. Alright, so we are still in the okay category, but once again, it's almost on the verge of a favorite, but it's not really a favorite. It's just, I don't know what to call it, but we are talking about the Pixi Liquid Fairy Lights Glitter Liquid Eyeshadows. I was really, really wanting to love these, but comparing them to my Stila Glitter and Glows, they did not take that place. I still love and highly prefer the Stila Glitter and Glows. With them out of the picture, this is a decent liquid glitter if you don't mind a few things. For me, anytime I wore this, even when I used a glitter glue, I still would get glitter fallout on my face, and I hate that. I'm sorry, that's annoying to me. I hate kind of getting, you know, seeing myself in the mirror and then getting this one random like, what, there's glitter on your face. Like, why is it like right in the, I always get them in the oddest places, like right in between my eyes or on the tip of my nose. Nothing cute. So I hate that. And for Stila, the Stila Glitters and Glows, if I use a glitter primer underneath, I do not get any fallout. Like maybe one glitter like right here or something. And that's it the entire day. I know a lot of people say they still get fallout, but I don't if I use a glitter primer. So that is what I compare this with, and this just is very annoying, and even if I use a glitter primer, it falls out. I used, which one is it? I used Sunray, this gold one, in my crease to do a cut crease, or like not cut crease, but a glitter liner with, and I have picked 3-4 glitter spots off my face because I didn't put primer there. I was just sticking in my crease. So the glitters just don't stick as nicely as the Stila, which I feel like, I know this is cheaper, but maybe just like $10 cheaper. I feel like I'd rather pay the $10 to get something that just stays on your eyes once you put it there. One other thing I do want to throw out there though is this formula is a lot thinner than Stila. When I was using this and I would swipe it on, I would have to put like at least 2 layers. Sometimes I felt like even 3, and I was just like, man, do I do this with the Stila? So I used the Stila the next day, and no, like Stila is just a 1 coat for me, and that honestly helps it not fall out. So these are nice, they're decent, but they definitely didn't take the place of Stila Glitter and Glows. That's just my opinion, and they're okay. Okay, so next up is the Salon Perfect On Point Tri-Tip Brow Marker, and this one is a little bit better than okay, but it's not a favorite, so it's in that odd spot for this month. But this is one of those markers that has, it's like a felt marker, but it has like little slashes in it. I have it in my brows today, and I like it because it's a lot better than the Flower Beauty one that I tried. The Flower Beauty one was terrible. This shows up almost like a black brown, which this is called dark brown, so it shows up true to the color that it says it's gonna be. And when I put it on my brows, I'm able to go and do my whole brow and then take a spoolie and brush through it, and it doesn't set too quickly, so I'm still able to kind of brush through the lines to make it kind of not look like there's a bunch of lines in my brows, because I don't do that. And also it lasts really nicely on my brows. At the end of the night, I still see it. So yeah, I really do like it, but I just feel like I'm not a good person to be an authority on this, because it's supposed to be something to give you those hair-like strokes, and I'm not really someone who can speak to that. I'm sorry I can't be more of a help. I mentioned brows in the 5 products or categories that I hate reviewing, and this is why. If you don't have my type of brows, like, I just can't tell you if it's good or not. So, okay, so we have the Hard Candy Glitteratzi Liquid Sparklers. They sent me 3 shades, and I think these are extremely pretty. They are kind of glitter. They don't have glitter chunks like the Stila Glitter and Glow, so I don't really put it on that spectrum. I mean, it definitely has glitter reflectiveness in it, but I see this more as like a liquid shadow. I know Stila came out with the Glimmer, Shimmer, and Glows, and I feel like this would be comparable to that type of formula. Like, it's very pigmented, it has a lot of reflectiveness to it. They're somewhat sheer, so this is definitely something that I use on top of, like, if I did this look, I guess this look wouldn't really go with these, but if I did this look and I wanted a lot of shimmer and reflectiveness, I would take the white because I have a lot of gold underneath it, so I would just take this white and very lightly, you know, put it where I wanted, and I feel like it really amplifies the look, gives a lot of shine. There's a lot of times that I would do my look, go about my day, and then maybe I was going out that evening. I wanted to amp up my look, and I would just put a little bit of this. I made sure to like scrape off the side because you don't want to get too much, because this formula with something like this, if you get too much, it'll crack as you open and shut your eyes. So I wiped off the edges, and I just, you know, very lightly cut the crease, filled it in, kind of tapped out the outer edge to blend it in, and I thought it was really pretty. A really easy way to take your look from day to night. Towards the end of the night, probably like 6 to 8 hours, they definitely had a lot of cracks in them, a lot of crevices that you could see just from opening and shutting your eyes. But before that, I thought it looked just fine. I was really pleased with them. I didn't notice a lot of glitter fallout, maybe a couple little shimmer sparkles, but very fine, like I said. But overall, yes, I did like them, do recommend them. So right before we step into the favorites for this month, I want to talk about the Macy and Mia liquid lipstick and liquid liner. Once again, this isn't really an okay, but it wasn't like a super favorite of mine. It was a really nice one that I enjoyed, but it's kind of split in the middle because I hated when I used it with the lip liner. I used these two together, and I did not like how it felt on my lips. It looked extremely drying. It accentuated every line in my lips. It didn't wear nicely at all. So the first time I used it, I did these two together, and I was just like, ooh, I don't like this. This is going to be a fail. And then the next time I was like, well, let me just try it. Like, maybe it's not too sheer. I did with just this on my lips, no liner underneath, and that's all I have on my lips today is just this. I think it's beautiful. I don't think it's sheer at all, so I don't really understand like why you have to have the eyeliner or the lip liner. So this was a fail for me. But with that said, like, this is another product I should have put in my products I hate reviewing, because I'm not someone who likes using lip liners, and anytime I do take the trouble to use a lip liner with a liquid lipstick, I think the liquid lipstick looks 10 times worse, so I just don't understand it. So I don't know if I would take my opinion on it just because I don't understand the lip liners, but the lipstick is really nice. It's one that dries down completely matte. It's very light on the lips, no transfer, nothing like that. If you start to eat or drink, you're going to get a little bit of transfer along the outer edge. You're going to get a little bit of wear away in the center, but that's kind of typical for liquid lipsticks. Overall, I thought it was nice. It's one that feels a little drying on the lips, but nothing bad. It still feels pretty comfortable for the first 3-4 hours, and then after that I feel like you can, yeah, it starts to kind of suck the life out of your lip. Overall, I thought it was nice, and I can see myself wearing it more, especially as we get into the fall season, because this color is fall appropriate. All right, now let's head into favorites. We're talking about the Profusion Siennas palette, and this is a beautiful palette if you're wanting a pretty neutral look. I feel like when I first saw this, I was like, ooh, that's such a pretty colorful eyeshadow palette, but when you actually get it and you use it, really this is the most vibrant color. These are still pretty red. It kind of reminds me of like the modern Renaissance, this kind of portion of the eyeshadow palette. You got some like purplish, reddish colors here. I loved this little quad right here. These were my favorite. Overall, you had a lot of pretty looks with it. I was very happy with the way it blended. Once again, this is a palette that kind of makes you think you're going to get a lot of deep shades, but this and this shade, they're pretty similar for one. Like, I didn't understand why they had these two, because when you try to blend this in, it pretty much ended up looking like this blended in. So I was bummed that there wasn't something a little more intense of a brown than those two, and they're so similar. I was just like, why? So that frustrated me a little bit, that I couldn't go as deep as I wanted to with my looks. It's nothing super pigmented. You definitely have to kind of build up colors, blend out colors, but I had more success blending shades together in this palette than I did with the Armed and Gorgeous palette. But with that said, like, my looks couldn't get super creative with this palette, which I feel like I'm in the very creative zone right now. Like, I want to just create really colorful and pretty looks. Overall, I thought it was really nice, and especially for the price, if you're someone who's just wanting to get a very nice staple palette, something that is very fall-esque. I feel like you'll be really happy with this, and for me, this is a palette I'm going to pass along to my sisters because I feel like they're going to love the colors in here. I really have no huge gripes. It just didn't blow me out of the water, but it was very nice, and it was definitely, out of all the palettes that I tried this month, a favorite. All right, next up we're going to talk about the BareMinerals Blemish Rescue Skin Clearing Anti-Redness Mattifying Primer and the Skin Clearing, or BareMinerals Blemish Rescue Skin Clearing Loose Powder Foundation. We're just going to talk about both of these at the same time because they're both supposed to help clear acne, and I can't really attest to that. I think it helped a little bit because when I went on a trip, I took both of these and I used the primer every day. I didn't use this every day, but I used the primer every single day I was on that trip. And usually when I go on a plane ride, I always get a couple breakouts. And during the course of my trip and even coming back, I feel like I got maybe 2 breakouts that weren't even really that bad. So I don't know if it was because of this product. So that's really hard for me to review. But it was a nice thought when I was using this, and you know, the results afterwards, like, oh, my breakouts don't look too bad. Like, maybe this is actually helping. But I'm not going to sit up here and review this and tell you that this totally does help your acne. I think if you do suffer from acne, this might, help your routine. And if you're someone who wants to wear makeup every day, I think it might be worth investing in this just so you're not using a product that is worsening your acne. But I definitely think for acne, you need to start with like your skincare and make sure your skincare is helping to fight your acne and not your makeup, if that makes sense. But it's a nice base for your foundation. I really do like how my foundation went on top of it. And it was a nice thought whenever I put this on, knowing that maybe it's helping fight the acne breakouts from coming up. So overall, I really do like this. I will continue to use it. Keep a lookout on my empties, and I can tell you if like my thoughts change. The Blemish Rescue Skin Clearing Loose Powder Foundation, I don't like as much. Like, it looks really nice, and this is, oh my gosh. And this is fast becoming my favorite powder foundation to use. I actually purchased the matte version of this from Ulta a couple months before they sent me this, and I thought that was fantastic. And maybe it's because I've tried the mattifying version, but this just, I get so oily with it, and then when I get oily, it just wipes off my face. And even when I use one of my really strong like oil controlling primers, I still get oil coming through my skin probably halfway throughout the day, and then I just feel like it's so easy for this foundation to rub off. And because I have kids, I have a little one that is always all over my face, snuggling and whatnot, I just felt like by the end of the day, it was half gone in the oddest of places, like always around my mouth from when I'm eating, around my nose from like when I would wipe at it, around my cheeks from where Gideon would snuggle with me. I would just get frustrated. So I wanted to reach back and try the mattifying one because I don't remember having that issue. I don't remember having so much being gone at night and having all my oils just come through so much. So I think the mattifying formula really does help mattify. But right now it is so light for my skin, I would look ridiculous. So I haven't tried it again or, kind of compared these two. But at this point, remembering back to when I used that, I definitely recommend the mattifying version if you are oily like me. This should have been in my fail. What am I doing? I don't know why I saved these two for last. Oh my gosh. I'm a mess this month. I'm so sorry. This is a fail. This is a favorite. I don't know why I just like when I was setting these all out, I was like, oh, favorites, because I love this so much. This is a favorite, and this is a fail. So I think this is the last one. I'm just a mess this month. I'm so sorry. Hopefully my October monthly makeup review will not be as disastrous as this is. I'm praying October is a better month for me. But this is the Kat Von D liquid lipstick in Mother and her studded lipstick in Mother. I got this from a little set from Sephora a long time ago. Finally got around to trying it. So here's the thing. Before we get into this, I know Kat Von D has had a ton of controversies, but I purchased this before all that came out, so I'm not even going to get into it. We're just going to move right along past that because I'm here to talk about the makeup. Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on what's happening and just her and her brand in general, but we're gonna keep this to the makeup. So anyway, I love this formula. This is an incredibly comfortable matte formula, and I thought the color was gorgeous. It's super pigmented, sits really nicely on my lips, and wore pretty darn decent. It didn't wear as well as the liquid lipstick, but I ate something and it had faded gracefully. If it makes sense to you. I just thought it looked really nice, and I wasn't mad at the way it wore off my face when I was, wore off my lips while I was eating. So I really like this. If I got another mini, I wouldn't be mad, and I wouldn't be mad to try more. Do I need more? No, but I really do like this, and I can see myself using it and really enjoying it, especially this fall. And then the liquid lipstick is just as beautiful as I remember. I think it's stunning. It dries really nice on the lips. It wears really nicely. I wore it in a video, and when I was editing hating it. So a little insider scoop. Whenever I do my videos, I always just start the video and start talking, and then at the end I create my thumbnail picture, and then I also list off all the main things I'm wearing. I only talk about the highlighter, lips, and eye makeup because no one's ever asked me my foundation and stuff like that. I do all that at the end, that way when I'm filming, in case Gideon wakes up, the video is done and I just have to do the little details. He can be in my arms, that kind of thing. So anyway, I do that at the end, but I was sitting there editing the video, and throughout the whole video I'm like, I really like that lipstick. Like, what lipstick did you wear that day, Katie? And I could not remember, and I get to the end and it's like Kat Von D Mother, and I was like, oh my goodness, like I really like that lipstick, I should wear it some more. And I think I wore it like 4 times this past month. I feel like wearing away isn't the best, or at least the way it wears away isn't as nice as like my Dose, Smashbox, or Pixi. I feel like those 3 formulas wear away really gracefully, or just hardly any at all, whereas this I feel like wore away a lot more in my inner rim than I remembered it. But even with that, it was still felt very comfortable. It stayed really nice. It didn't transfer. I really liked it. So yeah, this was a big hit for me. I really like the colors. I don't know if I showed you that, but the colors were really pretty. So yeah, that was a favorite for mine this month. Alright, so this video is now over an hour long of footage. I have no idea how I'm gonna edit that down to try to at least make it around the 30-minute mark, but we shall see. September, it was a month, and I'm glad to be moving past it. I cannot wait to see what October has in store. Lord willing, it is a lot calmer and more peaceful. Thank you so much for sticking through this video. I feel like I've posted a lot of really long videos this month, and I've gotten like extremely good feedback whenever I post a really long video. So I'm very thankful you guys are okay and really cool with longer videos, because that's what I tend to do. So yeah, that's gonna wrap up this video. I feel like it's long enough. No need to make this outro any longer. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you very soon in my next video. Bye guys.